So hi everyone who has joined and taken some time out of their evening to watch our live stream tonight. So this is our third instalment of the live series that we are trialling and running out. So for today's session I am joined by the fabulous Claire Tamplin. So Claire is a mother of two and was a secondary school teacher of English for sort of over a decade, I think. And she chose her job to become an educational wellbeing specialist and promotes teaching the whole child. So her work in the community led her to becoming an Inspirational Woman of Portsmouth 2022 award recipient for the role model category. So alongside Claire's work, she also does her own sort of Express FM show called Cultivating Courageous Conversations. Bit of a mouthful. where she sort of interviews inspirational people in our city and invites them to lead into their mental health journeys. So it made me nervous a bit finding out that you sort of do this a lot. You're obviously a pro at doing interviews. So how does it feel being on the opposite seat for today's interview?
Do you know what? You have such a gorgeous, warm energy about you, and you instantly, the moment that I met you, instantly you just hold the space so well, and you make people feel genuinely really safe. And so, I feel really safe, I feel really excited, and I feel really grateful that you reached out and invited me to be here today, so thank you.
It's very exciting. You know, being nominated for any award, I meet a lot of women and they're very humble about their journeys. They don't feel that what they do is inspirational. So what did being nominated for the award mean to you? Do you feel like it's impacted you sort of in any way?
In every way, literally in every way. I mean, I echo what you said. You know, being in a room full of women and men and people who identify authentically as they are, just so many inspirational people made me feel incredibly humbled. You know, I took my husband along that evening, and I obviously knew that I'd been nominated, but I was going along to learn and feel inspired. There was no way that I ever thought that my name would be called out. And so, I totally echo about feeling humbled and shocked, really shocked. But once that kind of settled in, you know, it came at a time, so it's, March now, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was at a time where, for me, I was juggling a lot of roles.
Yes.
And at the time, I was still a teacher of English, working in a secondary school. And as well as delivering my mindful movement, as well as doing my radio show.
Yes.
And so it was at a time for me that gave me real affirmation that that people were seeing what I was doing, and they were feeling that it was supportive and helping. So it for me was very affirming.
It's always impressive to hear how people sort of juggle so many different things alongside each other and then, you know, still find time for themselves. I think it's really important when you have so many roles in the community to, you know, take a step back. So you've said that you sort of changed your job as a teacher after about 10 years.
Yes.
Why did you decide to change your job?
But you know what? So it was almost 12 years actually.
Okay.
And I received the award.
Yes.
I was juggling, as you know, and I just had so many opportunities come my way, and so many of which I could not physically hold all these plates. And I mean, I think a lot of us during the pandemic were able to evaluate what was priority to them. And listen, I'm a super creative person. I've got a really creative mind, and I absolutely love being in the classroom. What I don't love is being bogged down with data and marking and spreadsheets and all of those things that do need to happen, but some could argue that it takes the focus off the real thing, and that's it being pupil centric. And so for me, I decided that I didn't have the energy to put into that anymore. And so I decided to resign. And I've always been, as you know, we've had this conversation off live, a real people pleaser, and you know, quite linear with my progression, but actually that was the start of me being a little bit rogue and a little bit of a rule breaker, and it felt really good. And obviously after receiving the award, it propelled me into really believing in myself and seeing myself as others were also seeing me, and having this kind of empowerment and support of what Ronnie coins the tribe.
Yes.
And I think that once you're around other creatives, you know, teaching is an absolute, you know, it's a master of a skill, of a job. And so many of my friends and my colleagues, you know, they're just incredible human beings. But we can be multifaceted, you know, and I felt that for me, that teaching role, as well as a mother of two, you know, I've got a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old, it was all encompassing, and it was taking so much of my energy, whereas I was really excited to be creative in other areas of my life. And which unfortunately in the educational system they didn't fit into. So I still am a teacher now in what I do. It's just I choose where I go, what I do, who I collaborate with, and I have this freedom to, you know, really be expressive with the support that I want to share. And it's I told you a little story about my friend. On the day that I resigned, it was the first day back after Christmas. I had a lush 2 weeks off with my family, and you know, New Year and setting intentions and so on, and it was the first day back, and I came in and I just felt so excited and so full of enthusiasm with everything that was going on. Hadn't received the award yet, and I just remember just after a couple of hours just feeling that energy fall away. And I think not just teaching, whatever environment that you're in, if something is making you feel drained and is sapping your energy, then, you know, to have the courage to walk away from that and to know this isn't serving my soul anymore, you know. And I'm very heart-led what I do, you know. It's not about ego, it's about heart. And I think that when you do something with your heart, you're so attuned to the energy around you and your own energy, and it just wasn't in sync with mine anymore. And I texted my friend and I just said, you know, I just, this isn't me anymore. And she sent me a song, as you know, and her former teacher said to me, this is going to be the best decision you ever make. And she said, you're going to go in and you're going to resign now. And I did, and it was just and the rest is history.
It's got to be really courageous just to go in and sort of like something you've known for years and years. You know, you can always, you know, you've got that to rely on, that fallback safety blanket, and then to go, do you know what? No, this isn't for me anymore.
Safety blanket is a really good way to phrase it, actually, because this morning I was in my express role interviewing Dr. Alicia, who, shout out to Dr. Alicia, who received the Inspirational Woman Award for Business Startup. Absolutely incredible woman. And she too resigned from being a doctor. And she said that, you know, in fact she's just done a TED talk about the power of losing your identity. And she too talks about this safety blanket, about how we define ourselves by our roles. But actually, you know, number one, first, we're human beings. We're not human doings. And I think for me, I almost felt like I was able to kind of shed this skin of, I have to be a teacher, I have to be here at a certain time, I have to be, you know, when the bell rings, I need to run here and I need to run there. It just doesn't go hand in hand with well-being. And so for me, it was really quite a liberating moment to just be, do you know what? I can create my own, you know, my own thing. I can create my own with my own people. And
it's always really good to know that you can still do what you love, but in a way that suits you.
Yes, totally.
Because, you know, a certain job description doesn't fit everyone.
So true.
So but I think like doing my degree proper tested my love for what I love, but at the same time I really love it and I want to pursue it, and that's what you really need. You sort of need something that works for you. It's
so true. And do you know what's so interesting, Jasmine, is for the last 9 years I've been I was on the strategic management board for Portsmouth University, their PGCE course. Every year it's been, you know, metacognition or whatever teaching pedagogy is in fashion that year. The last 3 years, despite the fact I'm not officially teaching at the moment, this year, last year, it's been on well-being in the classroom, not just for pupils, but for staff. And, you know, what a shift in perspective that people are seeing that, you know, at a cellular level, if we don't have well-being and good mental health, then no learning will take place.
No, you'll really struggle.
You know, there are so many incredible teachers out there, and I absolutely, you know, adore and admire all of them. But I don't feel that there's enough people out there preaching and talking about and showing the evidence and the support strategies of what I'm doing. And so, for me, everything was screaming at me to kind of change lanes, and this is why I'm here.
I know, it's very exciting. Yeah, no, I always found that sort of through my GCSEs and things like that when I was in secondary school, the support wasn't there. They'd be like, you should take time for yourself, but here's like 5 hours worth of homework you got to do, here's your revision. They'd always be sort of like piling it onto you, and then they'd be like, oh, we know you can get X grade, you know, and they'd really sort of pile on that pressure. And, you know, sort of taking a step back from GCSE level now, I've realised, you know what, that actually really, it consumed my life.
Totally.
I didn't...
At such a time where, you know, I know we're going to dive into that a little bit later, but when so much is going on neurologically and developmentally, but here's the thing, the ones that are putting pressure on you, the teachers, are also under such immense pressure. And so it's kind of that ripple effect of that cortisol, that stress hormone just being passed on, passed on. And then, you know, the outcome of the exam comes, and then you're moved on to the next part of the system, college or apprenticeship, whatever it might be. And I think that knowing that you can change lane, and it's never too late to reinvent yourself, it's never too late to learn something new. I think that, you know, as a mother, as a human being now, actually what I am role modelling for my pupils, and many of whom I know, you know, follow, and is actually that it's never too late to do what you love. And, you know, at any age.
My mum's always telling me, she's like, Jasmine, if uni's not for you this year, she's like, you can take a year out. She was like, you can start again. She says, this isn't it.
Life isn't linear.
No, she's like, you don't have, it's not like a conveyor belt system. It's not like, you know, school, college, you don't have to do it like that. And she always reminds me. She always looks out for me. She always looks more for me than I do myself.
Sounds like a very good mum.
That's just brilliant. Like, number one supporter cheerleader is my mum. I think she's watching. She sent me a message going, oi, I'm watching. So she is watching, but you always need people like that just to back your decisions. Like, she'll back me no matter what I end up doing. So, you know, it's always
and when
nice
you've got that support, when you've got that tribe around you, you know that even if you kind of dip your toe in something and it's not for you, that too is learning, whether it's direct or indirect. And I think that knowing that you've got people who support you and support you unapologetically for you, regardless of your title, regardless of the mask that you're putting on, I think is really powerful.
Oh, so many questions. I try to have to pick the next one. So I'm sure your journey to get to sort of where you are now and realise what you actually love to do wasn't an easy journey. They never are an easy journey. They're always filled with obstacles, I think. So do you sort of mind telling me a little bit about your journey to becoming this well-being goddess? Like,
Well, you know, professionally, I think a lot of what we just spoke about, as well as, you know, working in a secondary school, and I've worked in lots of different secondary schools around the city and also outside of the city. There's only so much of teaching pupils who you can quite clearly see feel broken inside that you can really, you know, tolerate. And when I say tolerate, I mean tolerate that you are not providing enough support. You know, your hands are tied, and that is really, really frustrating. And for me, that made me struggle with the day-to-day workload of being a teacher, because I was so busy trying to research how I can help and what I can do. And so that for me was a real internal conflict, that how I wanted to help them was not perhaps the system's way of seeing them as targets and data and so on. Personally, I you know, as many of us have gone through a lot. I had a liver complication. I have had lots of health-related issues physically, and it takes a huge toll on your body to bounce back as well, but also to understand that you know, it's cliche, but life is really short.
Yeah.
And I think that when you are put on a particular pathway, or you know that you have a health complication, or you know that there is some kind of risk, it really makes you understand that your moment on this earth is very short,
Yeah.
and you need to make it count.
Yeah.
And you need to, you know, do what you love. And then for me, I guess, which was kind of a huge moment and a shift in my life, was I'm a mother of, as
Yes.
I said, two
Yes.
beautiful children, and in between having my son and my daughter, we lost our baby under quite traumatic circumstances. And for me, that was probably the darkest, lowest moment that I've ever been in. And I was still teaching at the time, and I think that for me again just made me realise that, gosh, life is so short and so fragile, and it propelled me to really deep dive into understanding the mind and trauma.
Yes.
And all of what I know that we're going to be talking about, but also that if I can help myself get out of this, whilst we've all got very different lived experiences,
Yeah.
we will all, you know, inevitably encounter loss. And so I think that if I can help myself and help others, then that experience that I went through wasn't futile.
Yes.
And I'm actually, although it can sound a bit of a juxtaposition, I'm actually really grateful for what we went through,
Yes.
because I have so many layers of compassion and empathy that I just didn't have before. And yeah, so for me, my struggles have absolutely become my strengths.
So nice to hear how people don't let negative things impact them so much. Like, I'm sure everyone I know has sort of gone through something, and some people will just let that really affect them, and others will let it build them. And I think, do you know what, if I didn't go through half the stuff I went through, I wouldn't be who I am today. And I really admire people that have that sort of outlook on life, because you can't help the cards life deals you. Like, you can't help that, but what you do with them is the important thing. So
I totally agree. And to add to that, I think it's so important to share that there's so many people out there that have a story. And there are some really, you know, I'm very grateful and very privileged that I'm able to share this part of my story right now, but there are so many people out there that have some incredibly inspirational stories. And, you know, for anyone that's listening that kind of any of this has resonated with, just know that this does not define you. And those moments when they're real moments of kind of deep soul searching in that darkness, just finding that little spark of light, even if it's for a moment, you can build upon that, you can nurture it, and you know, never be afraid to shine is something that I want to kind of build from that.
oh, I like that a lot. So you have spoken about how you've done the mindful movement.
Yes.
Would you mind telling me a little bit about the mindful movement?
Yeah, so I founded the Mindful Movement Coach, and I decided after some really rigorous training, which I know we're going to talk about, I decided that I wanted to deliver yoga, mindfulness, well-being in schools, and that's where it kind of started. However, I very quickly realised after delivering it in schools, after the feedback of staff saying, do you do this for teachers too?
Yeah.
And so I then began doing it for teachers, and then friends in the corporate world, you know, could you do this for our team? Could you do this for... And it's just completely, you know, so I now do it, you know, for events, for schools, for anyone that feels that they need that top up of well-being. And mindful movement is more than just about, you know, physically moving your body. It's a movement in that it, you know, it shifts your emotions, it can shift your mental state, it can really get you into, you know, the zone where you feel pumped with energy, but also really calm and relaxed. So, you know, whatever that is that you need, that movement, I think it's so important that we understand that it's so much more than just making shapes with your body.
Yeah.
You know, if you go onto my Instagram, very, very rarely will you see me in a yoga pose, because I think straight away you think, I can't do that, and you know, I've got to be super flexible, I've got to look like that. No, we are, you know, every joint on our body is a hinge that is designed to move. It doesn't matter how much that moves. likewise, every cell, every neural pathway in our mind is designed to be fired up, is designed to rejuvenate. And I think that that is all mindful movement, and you know, our mind, it is all encompasses one. And I think that mindful movement is even more when it becomes part of a community. You feel that energy, you and I feel now, that excitement, that buzz.
Oh, I love that. It's great. I'd never really heard of it until sort of, must have been a few weeks ago, when I actually started doing like proper research for who I wanted to chat to, and I just had a look and I was like, do you know what? We need more of this in the world.
Yes.
We need more people to realise.
We totally do.
Sort of the connection between your mental well-being to how you feel about life, your outlook, your perspective, how well you do in whatever you choose to do. And I think, I don't think enough people realise the importance of the connection of looking after yourself as well as, you know, doing whatever you choose to be doing at the time.
And there's the thing as well, isn't it? It's that doing word. And you know what? We're not human doings, we're human beings. And when we're constantly, you know, looking for, you know, the high performance level of achieving that goal or hitting that outcome, or we're not in the present moment. A mindful movement is literally like, you know, just being in the present moment, listening to the birds, noticing the sensations and the sounds around you, and just being really present. And when you have that presence, you have awareness, and that's when you're able to tap into your emotions.
I feel like I need to be doing some more mindful movement. I'm forever just, I need to do this and that, and then it's this, and then I never really take any time to sort of just sit and relax. It's always like, what am I doing next? And I feel like I should do some mindful movement. I feel like it would be useful.
I will help you.
So we have time for one more question. It's the question everyone dreads, and I'm sure as you read through your little sample of questions, you probably read this one and was like, I hope she doesn't. But I have to. So if you had to choose one person, who would you say has inspired you on your journey?
So I started off, didn't I, by saying to you that I used to be such a perfectionist and, you know, really toe the line and be such a someone that followed the rules. So I'm going to be a little bit naughty and break the rules because I have two people.
That's fine.
And the reason for that, and I want to touch upon as well, because when we look about inspiration, we quite often will think about who we look up to and who kind of, you know, we aspire to be like. But actually, you know, from my teaching years and as a mother, those who know me, who are watching, will be, you know, not surprised by this at all, but I am inspired mostly by my children. And, you know, my daughter is 1, my son is 5 years old, and I quite often talk about how the moment that he was born, my life turned from black and white to colour. And he showed me the true meaning of life. And I really believe that with my daughter too, I used to be quite meek and mild, and she is so fierce and so wild. And I really think that, you know, I got what I needed from her, and she's really taught me so much. And I really think that it's so important with what you're doing as a trustee on the youth board and all of those things, is that, you know, my children inspire me every day, and the younger that we are, we have this playfulness and we have this presence. And so for me, they are my biggest inspiration, but also my biggest aspiration is to be driven by them, so they can look back one day and know that, you know, mummy did all she possibly could to create the life for herself and for them.
I love that. I love when people, because kids can teach you a lot, they really can. And I think it's always focused on what you can teach them, but they're free spirits. They, you know, they've not been tainted by the world in any way, and they're just free, loving spirits. And I think we can learn a lot from children.
I think real learning takes place when we relinquish the need to control, when we relinquish the need to pigeonhole, and when we allow people to authentically, unapologetically, authentically be themselves. And as you said, children have that innocence, that freedom, that just ability to be themselves wholeheartedly, as Brené Brown talks about. And so, for me, that's why they inspire me every day, and they remind me to be in the present moment.
I love that. Right, reached the end of my questions, so we're going to have a little jump over and have a little look and see what people have been asking, see if anyone has asked us anything. That's okay, I will read them to you. So Portsmouth City of Sanctuary have said, you're such an inspiration, Claire. Really brave to jump into a new career. We've got Debbie Smith that was saying heart-led and that she loves this. We have LDV Hub saying Claire is the most beautiful human being, sending love, enjoy the life. Yeah.
Shout out to Lauren. Lauren is leading the LinkedIn event in September, and Lauren is literally we talked about cheerleaders, one of the biggest cheerleaders for so many people. So thank you all for your lovely, kind comments.
Yeah. So no questions, but everyone's sharing the love with us today.
Aww. We're sending it right back.
Exactly. Oh, so I'm going to try and jump back in the frame without going too far back. Thank you everyone for watching today's live. Thank you for joining in and getting involved and sending us all your love. I am doing the next live next Monday, same time, same place. You know, it's all natural now. If you didn't get a chance to watch this live, or you're watching it on catch up, or you know people that would benefit from this that don't have Instagram, we will be uploading this to Facebook tomorrow morning, and it will always be in our archive for you to watch. So yeah, any questions that you get after you've watched today's live, feel free to drop either me or Claire a little message, and we will aim to answer your questions. Thank you everyone.
Thank you so much. Take care everyone.